Hello everybody, James here. Now, it was revealed by Insider Gaming's Mike Straw on his YouTube channel that AEW Fight Forever, that's AEW's first and only console game to this point. I had to add that in quite late into the thing, because I didn't realise that AEW Rise to the Top was a thing. It was a mobile game that they released that has since stopped receiving updates and is now completely unplayable. And also, can I just ask this, just with the mouse hovering here, who's that meant to be? It's not Ricochet. It's too early. This came out a couple of years ago. There's Danhausen, obviously. Anyway, the console game, AEW Fight Forever, has been more of a colossal failure than was previously believed. At least $30 million was not invested. It was $30 million, at least, was lost on Fight Forever. A lot of this loss can be pinned to developmental delays. Originally, the game hoped for a Q1 of 2022 release, according to Kenny Omega, back in 21 or whatever it might be. That soon became late 2022 and then eventually pushed back to June 29th, 2023. Now, delays in development are incredibly costly because there's an awful lot of people you've got to pay for and resource and everything over the course of a year and a quarter, something like that, than initially anticipated. And it was always going to lose money at that point, by the way. It just ended up losing a lot more money because of the development problems. Then, after a raft of negative reviews upon release, it caused an already underwhelming launch. Fight Forever only saw some half of the sales that they estimated that they would achieve. It turns out that the fans just gave up on the product almost immediately. The story of how this game managed to cost AEW so much money is an interesting one. So we're going to go back to the beginning here and figure this all out together. Now, I will be giving you my thoughts on the game as well, personally, with some hands-on testing of the game that we'll show in a little bit. While I have, and this is a tiny bit about me, I've pretty much foregone the WWE 2K games. I fundamentally dislike the core mechanics in the arcade-like movement. I just don't get on with them at all. AEW Fight Forever, though, when it was announced, on the surface, had some intrigue for me. With development beginning in late 2019, around the same time that Dynamite ends up on television, Fight Forever was promised to be like a spiritual sequel to the greatest wrestling game that ever existed, WWF No Mercy, on the Nintendo 64. It had THQ Nordic, who were THQ were the original publishers, was later on announced as the publisher for this game as well. And AEW star Kenny Omega, a massive gamer himself to the point that he's like an ambassador for Razor's products, was said to be deeply involved in the development of the game. And everything was said right as well. I mean, Omega back in 2023 said the following. For me, it's a feeling of actually performing a match, Kenny Omega said. This is in regards to like his philosophy of what makes a great wrestling game. It's a feeling of impact with each maneuver. I also feel that a big thing with No Mercy was that when you did a maneuver by a particular wrestler, the way it was performed and the way the opponent received the move looked perfect in every single animation. That's because the artists back then, they weren't using green screens, they were using mocap. They were actually manipulating joints frame by frame by frame by frame while watching tape of said performer doing the maneuver to an actual opponent. That is what you want to hear. You've got the right developer, the nostalgic publisher, the biggest wrestling game nerd pretty much imaginable at that point, apart from Stevie, into the development of a game, beginning from the ones and zeros on upward. Everything seemed correct in the initial, and everybody was saying the right things that seasoned gamers such as myself wanted to hear about. But then in 2022, issues and rumours about a fraught relationship between Ukes and Kenny Omega and the AEW organisation, all three of them apparently were unhappy with each other, were being made public. Ukes wanted to host community creations for creator wrestlers, for example. AEW, instead of that, wanted silly mini-games. Why? Nobody knows. Huge resources were dedicated to total crap, dictated by AEW themselves, plus a smaller than usual budget for a... Okay, right, so it was priced like a AAA game. We'll get to that in a minute. But they kind of expected, I guess, AAA game quality for AA game budget. And it just wasn't enough to develop the game properly or on time for what they were paying. It was estimated that 1/3 of the features of the games either slipped through the cracks or weren't even developed at all due to a spiraling out-of-control budget, even with an extra $20 million cash injection from the Khan family personally. This isn't the AEW startup money. This is the cash injection after the fact to get the game going. Even that was not enough to get the game up to scratch. And then to add to the headaches of all this, the game was being built from the ground up. This wasn't like a reskin of anything. This was like from absolute basics, building blocks from the foundations. And during the pandemic, this was happening as well. So for large swathes, there was stalling or remote work and just a ton of stuff that was just getting in the way. And then there were features that were promised in press releases and developers talking about it and whatnot that just couldn't be implemented, like crossplay, for example, or an expansive roster. The story mode was meant to be a huge sprawling endeavour and it ended up being practically nothing, along with like the unnecessary mini games, for example, that saw the game really become an exercise in cutting corners. To make matters worse, a lot of the more extreme elements of the game, like the blood and everything else, had to be cut to achieve an ESRB teen rating as well. So AEW Fight Forever was clearly incomplete. So why did it ship like that? Well, because it was already over a year behind its original release schedule. And at some point, AEW needed to attempt to claw back some of its investment, I guess. That meant shipping a shoddy product out and hoping to keep enough players invested by updating the game in increments after the fact. Worse, Fight Forever. I said I'd get to this before. Fight Forever was priced as a AAA game, but only wanted to pay AA money for it. So they were pricing it as $60 for the standard edition and $80 for the Elite edition. And like the DLC packs were like $12, $13, something like that for DLC packs. So it was all really expensive for what it ultimately was. Because it was kind of supposed to be just like this indie thing. Because Ukes isn't like a huge developer or anything, I don't think anymore. The core engine itself, when reviewed, was agreed to be decent, but everything around it was bare bones or shallow or just not there at all. Like the Creator Wrestler was just a disaster. It was practically nothing. Very few match variations, poor creation tools, a poor roster. People were saying, hang on, you've just released on the show, the actual AEW show, trios tag team titles, yet you can't even have trios matches. And then there were technical problems as well, and promises made before launch that were simply not adhered to. Now, the game would have continually updated its modes and tackled bugs and built on the foundation that they had created. Evil Uno gave an interview claiming that the game wasn't intended to have sequels, but to be updated continually, like No Man's Sky, for example, which also had a terrible launch, but has since developed into a very serviceable game. But the other issue is that the game just wasn't selling from the off. It's one thing to lose players, it's another thing to just not sell that many copies in the first place. Fight Forever wasn't retaining players, which is even the worst thing. Upon its release on June 2023, the game recorded a paltry 2,210 concurrent players at its peak on Steam. Now, this is just for PC players, of course, but this is very indicative of how many people dropped it. 2 months later, on Steam, the peak for August was 177, more than like a 90% loss of players sticking with it. By December, it was 31. People gave up on this game very quickly indeed. More DLCs were released, by the way, but they were all paid for extra wrestlers and modes, like Stadium Stampede, which is their version of like attempting a Fortnite kind of thing, rather than, and that had its own technical glitches. But rather than, they didn't really update as a functional ground-up rebuilding in addition to the core mechanics kind of affair, with different match variations, a better story, create a wrestler, community creations, that kind of thing. All of that was missing or threadbare. Because Ukes had only been contracted for a year's worth of updates, and because nobody was playing the game, the original promises went out the window. The idea of continually updating and improving Fight Forever would have just been another money pit that the player base had long since ditched. Now, I'm going to go through the game a little bit myself, show you what I'm doing in it, and give you some of my critiques and criticisms and thoughts on the core mechanics and everything else as well. Now, one of the first things that you'll notice here is there is so little in the way of choices. 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-way, 4-way, Casino Battle Royal, Exploding Barbed Wire Deathmatch, Ladder Match, Minigames. Minigames! The minigames, definitely they were obsessed with for whatever reason. And training. And also, I think it's great that Danhausen is the first person that you see in this game. When this was released, Cody Rhodes was still in the game, despite the fact that it had been with WWE for over a year at this point. I'm pretty sure CM Punk should be part of this as well. Just looking at it now, it's got 35 dudes in this, and let's count the women, and 12 women. Okay, that's not very many, in fairness. Then it's also got 10 whole community creations, including Tommy Dreamer's child there, Kid Dreamer. Okay, and straight away here, look, can we just say that the graphics are like PlayStation 3 era? I think that's kind of fair to say. This is one of the big issues as well. I was just looking at... I picked Nick Jackson to beat up, by the way. That's just such a major problem. And the entrances are nothing as well. I'm going to just get to grips with this in a minute. Hang on. Well, hang on. William Regal's turned up. Hello, William. Hi, I'm William Regal. I'll be teaching you the techniques you'll need to learn in order to win. Let's start with the basics. I'm not going to go through all this with you. I'm going to do it myself. Okay, I'm in the training mode now, and there's two things I've kind of noticed. The art style kind of looks like 2 Point Hospital. I don't particularly hate it. It's a bit underwhelming and understand, but it's not too bad. The other thing, I'm in training mode now, and at no point is it telling me how to do anything whatsoever. Like at all. It was telling me more in that basic match when William Regal popped up. Okay, I've been messing around with this for about 5-10 minutes now, and I'll tell you what. The button mapping is a bit suspect, because you've got to hold down circle to then do a strike with square, so you kind of have to do it with your fingers, right? But overall, it's more intuitive, I'll dare say, than the 2K games. That's my impression at that point. Definitely that's my impression at that point. It's a bit more intuitive. Could have done with a lot more fleshing out, though. Like, for me now, these days, I would have had, like, the right stick going up to pick up an opponent instead of L1, which it ends up being. You hold down L1 to pick them up, and then you press L1 to pin them. Everything. I've been playing with this for a bit longer now, and everything, for the most part, at least the basic stuff, is really intuitive and doesn't look bad. So you grapple with X, you whip with circle. The only bugbear at the moment is that you've got to run with circle to then execute an attack, where you've got to do your fingers instead, as I said before. But pretty much everything, like X is a grapple attack, as I've just done there. I'll do another one, and then it depends on whereabouts in the position it is. Oh, for God's sake, now... This bit's a little clunky. We're getting into the tank controls of the N64 here, which is obviously the big issue with it. But, I mean, a lot of things with the N64 thing have kind of survived. If you want to do a really strong grapple, you hold down the X, and then you do X or direction X to execute this, for example. I'll do it one more time. That was up an X. Down an X, in theory, should be something different, which it is. And then we can do the signature moves. Right, our fellow here. I'm going to grapple. And then it's really obvious. You just grapple, and then you press the direction button. And then it goes straight into the Walls of Jericho, which Darby Allin, the quitter that he is obviously going to tap out. I can tell it in his eyes right now. Oh, has he? Oh, no, he got out, you ball. Anyway, but for the most part, I mean, it feels like an indie game still. But it feels like, with the core mechanics, a decent indie game. It really doesn't feel bad at all. I mean, there's some, like... moves that like feel a bit rushed or a bit clunky. I did a flapjack before while I was just practicing with all this, and it seemed to rush through it really, really quickly. I'll see if I can do it again. Hang on. There we go. Maybe it wasn't that one, but it was some move that just seemed a little bit like less impactful than it could have been. But overall, I feel better about this than I do about the 2K26 game. I've got to say that. I'm going to go into a proper game now and give you some more to see. And let's see some other character models as well. Who was there a shovel? I thought some chick had a shovel behind him as well. I'm going to attack him. Let's see what MJF looks like. Like the chewing, that is terrible. Kissing the ring. Oh man. Some of these character models, I mean, what can I tell you? I mean, you can tell it's MJF, but boy, howdy. That's one of the big issues. You cheat git. I'm going to get used to it a bit more. Now, I'm going through this a bit more. Once again, I'm battling it out. It partially, fairly intuitive as I keep going back to, but also there are a couple of things that are kind of really tripping me up, apart from actually just nearly grappling Aubrey there. You dick. See, this is why I'm absolutely impossible to play games at, because I'm constantly yelling. Like, even... Get bent. There you go, have that. There's other stuff I can't quite work out either. Whoops. Damn it. Under pressure, I can never remember which the grapple button is. A key. Stupid circle. I have managed to reverse punches already because it's L1 and R1. Instead of having there just be like one overall. What's he just done there? He's absolutely stuffed me. Say one thing. It doesn't really give you that much of a clue in the menu what to do. It does tell you how to reverse stuff if nothing else. There is a moves list. Stop telling me it's socket. It does have a moves list here that you can go through, and it gives you all the finishes and signatures. Damn, how many finishes and signatures do you want, buddy? And then it gives you all the basics here. I don't know why it doesn't do that in the training. I don't know why, but any more than it does here. I would have liked a more comprehensive walkthrough. Right, I'm going to run into you and give you that drop kick. I still haven't got to the point where I can... Jeez. I haven't got to the point where I can throw them out the ring or whatever. Is that it? Oh, I've done it. L2. And I don't know how to jump over. Let's try it again. I'll just press something for God's sake. Anyway, the point is that this is like the first match I've ever had in my life, and I'm getting far enough through it that I can make a bout. There are other things as well that seem like a bit too arcadey for me, and that's some of the movements that are happening, or sometimes I'll just like fly out the ring and not quite know why. Haven't quite worked out I can grab weapons from under the ring. Well, I'm going to do that right now, in fact. It's counting me out. I'm going to get disqualified, but I'm getting with the old cricket bat here. Ah, there's your knob. Ah. How do I... Is it L2 to pick him up? You cheating slime ball. He's done me like a kipper. I do not know why that replay was there. That was really off-putting. Felt like I was having like some sort of weird flashback or an epileptic fit. Don't give up. Right, so you... Right, this is what I like. Just like the one thing I hate loads of things about 2K. I like the button mashing just to get out. I think that's good. Like, because they were doing like 48 different mini games that just kind of completely broke up the... I reversed that. I know I reversed that. Right, so L1's reversed, but he's already kicked me in the knob there. There you go. There's one back for you, buddy. Oos! How'd you pick up the weapon? Forget it. Anyway, it's not the point. Here's the point. I've been playing this for about half an hour, and I already like it more than 2K. There are definitely things that could be improved with it. It does seem like a bit too fast. I like it a bit more methodical. But do you know what? It's like a core mechanic thing that I can see myself progressing through and getting better at and working out what works, what doesn't. I can definitely see me enjoying that a bit more. The point of this is that, and I'm going to quit the match. There we go. I'll quit the match and show you. I'm going to go through everything. These community rates. Go away. You think if you downloaded these games, you wouldn't have the wait times, but there you go. Online, custom. I daren't try the custom thing. Road to Elite. It's definitely not like a AAA game, but this feels like a real missed opportunity to me. That is what I'll say at this point. Now, does AEW Fight Forever have loads of replayability in its current guise? I don't know about that. Would extra match options help? Would extra creative wrestlers help? I don't know so much. I do know that somewhere in there is... somewhere right there is a decent game that can be improved upon. And I'm sure with all the bells and whistles that will surround it and make it a more immersive experience, I don't think it was a million miles away from being actually a pretty darn good game, quite frankly. But as it is now, has it got the replayability for me? Well, apparently not for everybody else. That's why there's only... As I checked this morning, 3 active players on Steam, 3 years after its release. But that's kind of a, once again, kind of a big shame, really, because there was something there with it. I can tell straight off the bat there's something there with it, and I like that it's way more basic and way less complicated than the 2K versions, which is what turned me off from that iteration, that line of WWE games in the first place. But imagine a world with Fight Forever being actually good, as in it's better and more playable than the bare bones deal that we've got now, and it released Q1 of 2022. Here's the important thing, is that 2K20 WWE was an absolute unmitigated disaster. Buggy as shit. Impossible to play, practically. And all it did was just create a bunch of hilarious memes on socials for everybody to point and laugh at. WWE didn't even release a 2K21 game because they took a year off to try and fix the mess that they created from 2020. But AEW could have pounced and capitalised on this with a wide open market that 2K had left for themselves wide open due to their own incompetence. But here are a few tidbits to end up on. AEW owns that game engine. So in theory, they own the most expensive thing that there is to develop. So another game, if the original engine is built upon and improved and the mechanics and everything else, could be a far cheaper endeavour next time around. And AEW are apparently interested in reviving the game or creating something based on it, but only way down the line, and there are no plans in the immediate to bring the game back into development or update the old game. Rumblings out there have been that AEW may have talked to a third-party developer already about reviving or discussing whatever it might be, but AEW have claimed publicly that they don't know anything about that. Here's a bonus recommendation for you, though, away from wrestling games. I highly recommend The Big Walk to you all, to everyone who's listening. It's great fun. With a few, you do need a few friends with you. You've got to go with the in-game chats. It's a load of like cooperative, like puzzle solving, and it's really, really good. I really enjoy it. It's free on PS Plus now. And if it isn't free on whatever console you've got on, it's like £12, $15, whatever it might be if you don't have PS Plus. Totally worth your money. That is my recommendation. And that's the story about AEW Fight Forever as well. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you again soon.